Isaiah the Bookworm. An intro? Not an intro. Let's do an intro. Welcome back. Can you believe we finally made it to part 2 of books recommended by friends? So the first part is on my Instagram, so check it out there if you want. It's great. Yeah, so a while back, I asked my friends and followers, those are literally synonyms, cinnamon, recommend book for friends. I asked my friends for their all-time favorite books. It could be a recent one they love, it could be a YA classic from their youth, which... Segue. First up, we're getting right into it. Looking for Alaska, written by John Green, famously the brother of Hank Green, and tragically the author of The Fault in Our Stars. I am going to die on this hill. They should not have kissed in the Anne Frank Museum. Among Gustus Waters. So, starting with the positives, I enjoyed the before and after format of the novel. I found that a pretty simple and straightforward way to keep the reader engaged. Like, 8 days before what? I very much like the way that Alaska kind of subverts the male gaze by very much being written and seen as this manic pixie dream girl until, spoiler alert, by the way, spoilers for all the books, until she dies. And all the male characters have to be like, whoa! All her male friends have to just like start caring about her feelings. They're like, whoa, I wonder what she was feeling. Whoa! Like, we have no idea. And I also hate the book for that same reason, because it shouldn't take a female character dying for her male friends to be like, wow, she was a person just like us. Speaking of the male characters, also insufferable. So Catcher in the Rye was a book I read and reviewed for the first part, which again, check it out on my IG, at Isaiah the Bookworm. And I was talking to a friend, and I said, Looking for Alaska kind of feels like an extension of the Catcher in the Rye universe if Holden went to like another boarding school. Holden is the same kind of insufferable as like Pudge and the Colonel. Cause like, the Colonel, that's so Holden Caulfield coded. Anyways, I rated this 3 stars. Next up we have Fun Home, a family tragicomic. Now I don't have the physical copy to hold up, so I'll put a picture here because I read it and gave it back to my friend. So this was recommended by my theater bestie, you know who you are, since this was adapted into a musical, debuting off-Broadway, and then winning 5 Tony Awards after its Broadway debut in 2015, which is so cool. So this one's a graphic novel written by Alison Bechdel, and yeah, that Bechdel, infamously of the Bechdel test. So we stan. She's also the author of a comic strip titled Dykes to Watch Out For, which I absolutely need to read, of course. When reading up for this video and like looking at some reviews and stuff, I saw someone say that this should not be recommended to straight people. And yeah, I agree. Ew, why do I keep doing that voice? I'll stop. It's about Alison's upbringing where her father, Bruce, is a funeral director. And they put the fun in funeral. It dives deep into her childhood, the development of her sexual identity, and her relationship, if we could call it that. We can call it that, with her father, who, spoiler, I keep doing the voice, who also happens to be gay, though deeply kind of closeted and has his own issues around that, which as you read kind of bleed into Alison's upbringing. This book features several allusions to some landmark novels and pieces of literature, which I'll keep it real. I didn't understand a lot of them. I haven't read that much, so take it with a grain of salt, but they seemed great. But I get why people love graphic novels so much, because despite its like kind of tumultuous, I think I'm using that word wrong, content. Editing Isaiah here. I definitely used that word wrong. I breezed through it in like 2 days. I had so much fun reading it. The illustrations were great. I would absolutely recommend it, unless you're straight. 4.25 stars. Let's take a pause. I just have to say thank you to everyone who recommended books, because it opened me up to a lot of like great things that I wouldn't have previously read. Okay, not to get like sappy, but I'm in a sappy mood. I just really appreciate it. Like, I've said before, I think in the first part, but reading your favorite books is so cute. Like, imagining y'all reading and being like, this is everything to me. Even though I might not like resonate with it the same way, is just so amazing. Reading and sharing books has become such a like beautiful form of platonic intimacy for me, where like it could be such a personal part of yourself, and to like share that like this book was formative for me, even if it's like embarrassing, is just, I love it so much. It's never embarrassing. Never be ashamed of what you read, unless it's like Mein Kampf. So next up, such a smooth segue, is A Shadow in the Ember. Again, don't have the physical copy because I read it from the library and had to return it, but this one is by Jennifer Armentrout, and let's just say she put a whole arm and leg into this one. I'm not very familiar with the fantasy genre, thus I was a little nervous going into this since it's also 551 pages, and you know I have that big book anxiety. Honestly though, I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun reading it, and it could just be that I'm not very familiar with the genre and don't really know the ins and outs and can't really compare it to much, but I thought the world building was pretty excellent. Sometimes I can get a bit lost in this like whole new world, considering I can barely get a grip on this one that we're all in, but for me to get really like sucked into a story and kind of get lost in it sometimes, like reading 100 pages at a time, I think really speaks to the author's ability to write that. And I get escapism as kind of a fundamental thing in fantasy, like you're supposed to escape into it, and that doesn't always happen for me, so I really liked it. It worked for me on this one. There's some really interesting themes throughout it, some really great characters, lovable characters, wink wink characters. I'm literally looking right at you, Niktos. But if I looked at Niktos, I would probably implode. So I did have some confusion about some of the intricacies of the big deal in this one, but I don't know. Miss Armentrout, Miss Arm and Leg, Miss Arm and Hammer wrapped up most of the plot points pretty well by the end, so I don't really have any complaints. I had a lot of fun with it, and that's kind of the point of reading a lot of the time, I feel. So 4.5 stars on this one. Last up, part of the reason I'm in such a sappy and emotional mood is because I just finished this. I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. Jandy Nelson? More like, what the hell, son? This knocked me out of my socks. Not the glare on the heel, y'all see that? The title alone is so beautiful. I am such a sucker for like huge professions of love like that. Yeah, I'll give you the sun, I'll give you the stars, I'll give you the ocean, the trees, but I'll keep the flowers for myself, thank you. So this is a non-linear telling of twins, Noah and Jude. If your age is 13 to 16, Noah gets the early years, Jude gets the later. Their lives kind of get upended, and as a result it leaves them searching for reconciliation and remaking the world, as it were. I've seen people say the writing and characters are pretentious, which like, I hear it, but one of my favorite yet relatively small moments and pieces of the book and themes is around miracles and how you kind of have to like believe in a miracle for them to exist. I'm not saying her writing is a miracle. Okay, maybe I am. Yeah, I am. It made me feel hope and warmth, and if that's not a miracle, I don't know what is, because I'm literally so cold and callous. I cried a few times, I felt a lot. I love the often lyrical tone of her writing. Jandy is so dandy. Ew. She does one of my favorite things, almost like too much. It kind of lost a bit of its edge, but I love it nonetheless, where she just like repeats a word or a phrase for impact or example. Even as I'm kissing him and kissing him and kissing him, I wish I were kissing him. Like, so real. So real. I love it. I love the dynamic between Brian and Noah. Again, like, so real you don't even believe. Like, despite all this beauty that is in this novel, the characters make some really questionable decisions. I think that just lends credence to how these characters manage to be forgiven and to forgive themselves time and time again. I can't talk about this without mentioning the last line in the book. Quick, make a wish, take a second or third or fourth chance, remake the world. Ugh, 5 stars. Yeah, so that's everything. Subscribe, like, comment some of your favorite books if you want to, and I'll read them and I'll make a part 3. Thanks for watching. Thank you for sending in your books. How do I end the video?